doesn't exist anymore. It was built in the center of Shavei-Tzion, and it served as the cultural center of the kibbutz. And the conference room in this center was called Ulam Shel Avraham. This is a building that was built in cooperation with the Religious Writers Organization of Israel, of Eretz Israel at the time, together with Hapoel Mizrahi of South Africa. And this Ulam Avraham in this building, which was later destroyed by the Jordanians in 1948, was named after Avraham Isser Katz. And it is because of Avraham Isser Katz that we are all gathered here this evening. Because probably nobody remembers Avraham Isser Katz. He probably doesn't have any family close enough to remember him. But the truth is that he absolutely shaped just about everyone who here is participating, the many, many people that are participating here this evening, shaped our lives. And hear about these special chevra that were both founders and very influential in the movement which we grew up in. Abraham Isser Katz was actually born in Lithuania. His parents were religious Zionists. His father was the rabbi of the local town. And as a 16-year-old boy, he moved to South Africa alone, on his own. He stayed with his uncle in Johannesburg. And he was one of the founders of the Torah and Avodah movement and the Young Mizrahi organization. These two organizations basically morphed later on in the 1930s into what we know as Bnei Akiva. In 1935, he immigrated, he came on Aliyah. He was the first Bnei Akiva, South African Bnei Akiva Chaver to come on Aliyah. Quite a few firsts that you will hear along the way. He joined what was called the Abraham Group, named after Harav Kook, and established by Hapoel Mizrahi as a settlement garin in Karkur. And already then, he was noted for his leadership capabilities. In March 1938, together with another 400 young volunteers, they went up to Hanita. There they worked in very, very difficult conditions to build and to secure the settlement. It was surrounded by Arab villages who were determined really to destroy this particular project. And he was very prominent in the efforts to secure the village, and he was doing Shmirah on the 22nd of May, 1938, when they were attacked by a group of Arabs. His partner right next to him was killed instantly. And for a month and a half, he was shot, he was severely injured. And for a month and a half, he fought for his life, and he finally succumbed to his wounds on the 1st of July, 1938. Anybody who goes to Karkur, go down to the cemetery there, and you will find his tombstone. Not only was he the first Bnei Akiva Chaver, of South African Bnei Akiva Chaver to fall in the defense of, at the time, Eretz Israel, but he was actually the very first South African, full stop, who gave his life in serving this country. He was 26 years old. And he became a symbol for the nascent Bnei Akiva movement as an ole, as somebody who took his belief all the way and sacrificed his life. Then others began to follow him. Other Chaverim of the movement began to follow him. One of those Chaverim was Yecheskel Berelowitz. Yecheskel Berelowitz was born in 1918 in Johannesburg. And he fought in the battle for Gush Etzion in 1948. And he was killed yesterday, 72 years ago.
Okay, so Yechezkel, or Chetzi Berelowitz, as he was known, was my father's very close friend. And they were, well, it is said that my dad was one of the founders of Hashomer Hadati, which is a forerunner of Bnei Akiva. And I found these are envelopes of letters that were sent from Kibbutz Shavei-Tzion in 1944 back to my dad in Johannesburg from Chesky Berelowitz. And the letter was incredible. It's still legible and it's amazing. It's in the Shavei-Tzion Museum in the archives. You can go there, and there's a whole file on him which I've submitted. And his name is also on the pillar there in the new museum, of all the guys that fell. And anyway, this is the letter. I'll just read you the letter. It's a little bit hard to read, but we'll see what we can do. It goes, Shavei-Tzion, box 1140, Jerusalem, 11th of the 2nd, 1944. Shalom, Henry. By now you must indeed be wondering when you will be hearing from me. It is thanks to God, I'm in Eretz Israel and happily rejoicing in the life of the kibbutz. It indeed was an unusual experience, having never traveled in my life. I saw strange people, heard strange sounds, and smelled peculiar smells. The other two senses of taste and touch were not given to martyrdom. This life is indeed agreeing with me, and I with it. Of course, I need not tell you of its significance to Eretz Israel. And in brackets is written Kibbutz Yud, of course, as you know all about that and how it is, so and so on. Naturally, the first question you would ask would be, how has a city guy like me managed to turn completely over and become a yokel? Well, strangely enough, the transformation was not as difficult or as complicated as would be expected. He says, fortunately, I have been blessed with a sense of humor, so everything difficult in my way is seen in humorous way, and I pass on to the next thing. Of course, you are getting impatient with all this and wish to know more about my life. Yeah, this kibbutz is situated in a hilly section of Palestine, south of Jerusalem. It is the only settlement in this direction, which is on the way to Hebron. Our view is magnificent, and we're the highest Jewish settlement spot in Eretz Israel, which is 965 meters above sea level. Our work is based on tree culture. At the time of writing, we are engaged in extensive reforestation work for the Keren Kayemet. We also are preparing the ground for fruit trees such as peach, plum, pear, possibly cherry, as well as vines, figs, olives, and almonds. I shall write more about this next time, as well as answers to any questions you may have. Pardon the short letter, but I've penned it in between work and study of course being Hebrew. So shalom and all that goes with it. Regards to all you meet to know me, yours fraternally, Yechezkel.
One of the Chaverim that came with Yechezkel Berelowitz to Shavei-Tzion, and many of us are very, very connected to Gush Etzion, whether it be Shavei-Tzion, Alon Shfut. Do we have people from Alon Shfut and Efrat here? If you can wave your hands. Okay, we see a number of hands coming up on the screen. Another one was Tzvi Lipshitz. Tzvi Lipshitz was born in 1920 in the Ukraine. In 1925, his family went to Lita, and in 1934, they came to Johannesburg. I'm going to read something about him in Hebrew here. בשנת 1935, הוא הצטרף להפועל המזרחי, והתמסר לשירות התנועה בהתלהבות. באספות התנועה הוא התבלט כנואם טוב ביידיש ובאנגלית. ובראשית תש"ב הגיע לארץ עם קבוצת חברים מדרום אפריקה, ונכנס להכשרה בכפר עציון, as did יחזקאל ברלוויץ. ושמה הוא נפל בנפילת הגוש ביום ד' באייר תש"ח. It is his yahrzeit. Today is his 72nd yahrzeit. Okay, I'm introducing you to, believe it or not, Tzvi Lipshitz. Harry Lipshitz is the nephew of the late Tzvi Lipschitz that fell at Shavei-Tzion at Gush Etzion in 1948. And he would like to share a very, very special story with you. Harry, please.
My oldest son went on Ulpan with his school, King David, to Israel. And all the kids are then sent to a different kibbutz for 3 weeks. And unbeknown to him, he arrived at a kibbutz called Rosh Tzurim. And when he arrived over there, they said, "How are you related to Tzvi Lipschitz?" And he said, "Well, that's my father." They said, "No, it can't be your father because he was a pioneer on this kibbutz." He said, "Well, then that must be my great uncle Tzvi Lipschitz that actually fell at Shavei-Tzion." So out of all the kibbutzim that my son was sent to, he ended up on the same kibbutz that his great uncle was killed. And I think, it's beshet. It was one of those wonderful moments. And he really felt really at home on that kibbutz. And it was a great experience for him.
I just want to tell you that my family and it's Harry's family, Tzvi Lipschitz's family, go back many, many years. And a few months ago, Harry wrote to me that they found 106 letters in Yiddish that Tzvi sent to his parents and to his brother from 1945 until the end of 1947. And Harry sent me a few, and I started translating them. I know Yiddish with the help of Nagy and my brother. So I want to write you, first of all, it's your side tonight, and I'd like to read a letter that we translated, and it was dated Shavei-Tzion, 19/1/1945. And he's writing it to his dear brother, Jack. Dear brother, I thank you for your short letter from Musenberg. I hope that you had a very good time and came back happy. In the contents of your letter, I noticed that you are not happy with my present home. It will take many pages for me to write about the kibbutz so that you won't think that the kibbutz is a punishment camp or a jail. And even more so, the kibbutz today is not what it was even 10 years ago. The kibbutz is a reservoir of Jewish science and culture. It's a Jewish faith from which the world will learn a lot. To this, there is a great factor which cannot and must not be forgotten. The kibbutz is the orphanage, old-aged home, and recreation place for refugees. If the kibbutz would cease to exist, it would be a tragedy, maybe as great as the tragedy in Europe. The kibbutz opens up unsettled areas. It has the ability to exist under conditions that are not available for other forms of building systems. The kibbutz authorizes our right to Eretz Yisrael. This anchors our right to Eretz Yisrael, and it must be recognized that through the kibbutz, this desolate land will again bloom. When we speak about Eretz Yisrael, the kibbutzim are always the first in line. And you want me to suddenly leave all this. I will not deny that the city and industry play a big part in the building of our land, but this is now a question of class struggle, which we must prevent. And also that the kibbutz now has a lot of industry, and therefore the kibbutz plays a double role, national and commercial practice. You asked me to tell you what I need. I thank you very much for your friendship, but nothing yet. When I have the opportunity, I want to send some things back. But if you do want to send me something, send me a hat. I bought a hat and paid $26, and within 2 weeks it was completely destroyed. Send me also 2 fountain pens and ink, because here it is very expensive. You can send it with friends from the organization who will be leaving soon. The money that you spend, I will send you. And now I ask you 2 favors. A, write if you know anything about the Mizrahi camp in Cape Town. B, answer my letter and tell me what is going on with the family and in town. Remain well, from me, your brother Tzvi.
Yitzchak Glaser was born in London in 1935. He moved with his parents to South Africa, where he completed high school and he joined the Bnei Akiva youth movement. I found it pretty amazing that he went on what they called in those days shlichut to a town where there was a Bnei Akiva group, but obviously they didn't have any leadership. And he went there to create a leadership situation for Bnei Akiva in, believe it or not, East London. I wonder how many Jews there are that are left in East London. He made in Aliyah in 1954, settling with his Bnei Akiva friends in Kibbutz Shluchot. Is there anybody here who has connections with Kibbutz Shluchot? Please raise your hands. Okay, there, I see Terry Sher, David Korkstein, here, Rose, I see Rose, I see Michael Glazer, okay, and a number of others. Okay, and we're going to hear about Kibbutz Shluchot again. And there he changed his name from Irving Glazer to the Hebrew name Yitzchak Ben David. He was killed in the Sinai campaign in 1956. And the reports of his action in the battle of Rafiach are as follows. Before joining the battle in the Sinai campaign, he encouraged his comrades who were going out to battle for the first time. And during the course of their charge on enemy posts, his calls of encouragement and fortitude could be heard. He fell on the 1st of November, 1956. If he wasn't your Rosh Machaneh, then you weren't around between 1950 and 2010 or whatever. Soli, b'vakasha.
We made it a policy when I was chairman of Bnei Akiva that Derech Gurim, we would give out each year when the new Shichva was established and the new kids joined Bnei Akiva. And then, of course, we pay tribute to all the fallen that was mentioned a short while ago, which you read out the names of the fallen people in the thing. You asked about Shluchot. I just want to mention we have a very close contact with Shluchot and with all our Chavarim there. It was Les Taina, Zichrono Livracha, Shabtai Grolman, who else? A few, Kelly Modlin, those guys. We came as volunteers to Shluchot in 1967. We had a group of about 52 people. In 50 years later, 2017, we had a reunion where people joined us from all over the world. We have Selwyn Franklin from Australia and many South Africans. We had 48 people that joined us, and it was arranged, the kibbutz hosted us, and it was a great Shabbat. We had
Abraham and David Dovkatz, they've got their own family Nifkashim B'Zochrim tomorrow. So I'm just going to mention a few brief things about him. He was born in 1939 in Boksburg. Anybody here from Boksburg? Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about his connection to the movement. Hu nimna im chanichei tnuat Bnei Akiva b'Drom Africa, u'berabot hayamim היה לאחד מראשי מדריכיה ומרכז התנועה ביוהנסבורג. הוא יזם את התוכנית השיעור השבועי לכל חניך והגה את הרעיון להקמת ישיבת בני עקיבא, which, if I'm not mistaken, later became a yeshiva college. But do we have yeshiva college scholars here in our midst? I see Avi Solsky, and I'm sure there are others as well. Here's Abner Selwyn Feinblum, the year of 1960-something, Michael Glazer, the famed class of 1972. There are a number of them here. Meish, were you in Yeshiva College? Here we go. Meish Isaacson in Yeshiva College as well, and others. And he was at the Suez Canal at Yom Kippur in 1973. And he fell on the 7th of October, 1973. And once again, the descriptions of the battle there indicate that he died with heroism. And he left his wife, Esther, 3 daughters, his parents at the time, and a brother. במכתב התנחומים למשפחה השכולה כתב מפקדו, למרות הסתערות כוחות אויב עדיפים, לחם דוד בגבורה רבה, חשף את גופו לאש, והמשיך ללחום מעמדתו תוך כדי דיווח שוטף למפקדיו עד אשר שהוא נפגע.
Hi, I'm Shirley Roth.
Hi, Shirley.
Dov was my madrich from 1957 when I joined Bnei Akiva. He was my madrich, and he was the most outstanding madrich. He was the most devoted madrich. We had a group of 11 girls, only girls until my brother joined us, and it was on Friday night, and he used to walk all of us home. He stayed overnight on Friday night with a family called Zelik Shur, if anybody knows them. And he used to walk all the way to Bramley, to Savoy Estate, with us girls until my brother joined him. And he was just the most amazing, devoted madrich anybody could ever wish to have. And he invented words so that we could remember him. For example, one of the words was excitingness. He could not sing to save his life, but he would insist on singing. And some of the songs that I remember that he taught us I remember that he's youth to this day. And he was just an amazing person. And we've remained friends with Estelle throughout the years. And in fact, Chagi is named after Dov, Chagi David. And that's it.
We used to daven in Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur in Boxburg, and my grandfather and Dov's father were like best friends, Shmuel Katz, and I used to remember him. Dov used to sit in the back of the shul, and he was one of the only guys with a long black and white talus. And he used to put the talus over his head. He was a real frum guy, which wasn't the run-of-the-mill in Boxburg Shul, obviously. And I remember him from the 50s.
Solly actually mentioned the Zlotnik family connected to Shluchot. And Tamar Zlotnik, their daughter, they were Olim from Bnei Akiva, South Africa. And she was born in 1970 on Kibbutz Shluchot. And in 1988, he Gaisa Latzava. And on the 1st of October 1990, she was killed while in service in a car accident. And she is one of Chalalei Tzahal, to be remembered. Shlomo Mordechai Miller was born in South Africa in 1954. Is there anybody here who knew him?
Yeah. So I was very friendly. I studied in Machon Lev with David Miller, who was Shlomo's brother. And David's parents adopted me. I used to go there a lot for Shabbat. They lived in Beit Vegan, and Machon Lev was just down the hill from Beit Vegan. I spent many meals at Shabbat with them, and Shlomo was always there. He was David's older brother, and even he was a big Zionist. Shlomo, he was when formed Atzmona in Sinai. He was one of the founders of Atzmona, and I went with David several times for Shabbat to Atzmona to visit Shlomo and spend Shabbat with him in the tents of Atzmona on the sand.
His name was Mark Miller, and he lived in Port Elizabeth. He was at Bnei Akiva camp with us for many years. Then came on Aliyah. His father was a brother of Miriam Melmed. Just to make that connection, because that you obviously know her. And we had many good times at Bnei Akiva camp. I still remember him wearing a Kova Temple. That was his mark of fame. And unfortunately, he was killed here in Israel. He was a Rav Shatz, I think, I don't know if it was Atzmona or wherever he was.
It was Itamar.
Itamar, yeah.
Yes, he married Esther, and they had 7 kids. and they were in Itamar, and he was the he was the Rav Shas. He was the security coordinator, and he was killed by a Palestinian terrorist shot at the village gate. But there are another two people that I want to mention this evening, and they are children of Chaverim that are with us here this evening, and were killed in terrorist attacks in Israel. And the first one that I would like to mention is the Sarah and Abner's Franklin's daughter. Sarah and Abner are here with us. And Abner,
everyone can hear, I hope. ערב טוב לכולם, חברים וחברות מבני עקיבא, Drum Africa. It's very, very emotional for me to speak at the stage of starting Yom HaZikaron and going into Yom HaTzmaut as well. But I feel very, very at ease to share with everybody here my feelings on this occasion tonight. It's almost 18 years since our dear Michali as we called her, was taken from us in a pigua at the Givat Tzorfatit intersection. She was almost 22 years old. Our eldest child had just finished her bachelor's degree in educational counseling. It was a shock for her parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters, family and friends. Today, Michali is with us all the time. This is the picture that stands in our salon, which become very, very attached to Michali, seeing her sitting in a place in the Bikat HaYarden, where she loved to go. She loved the beauty of the desert, and this was taken about a month before she got killed, with her guitar and with a thermos flask. This guitar and this thermos flask is still used all the time by us. When we go to Michali's kever, we take the guitar with us and we play it there, and her life becomes, and her death becomes difficult, but we carry on remembering her. As I said, Michali is with us all the time. We have 3 granddaughters named after her. All our grandchildren are well acquainted with Michali and her story. Tonight, the Nasi spoke at the Tekes of Yom HaZikaron at the Kotel, and he said that Yom HaZikaron isn't for the Mishpachot, but it's for the whole nation, who encourages us. For us, Yom HaZikaron is every single day of our lives. You may not remember Michali all the time, but all of a sudden you get something that sparks, or there's another pigua, and that throws you back in years to when Michali was killed as well. Our lives have ups and downs, but we have learned to cope with all this, with all the situations, difficult situations that come up. All I can say is that I wish you well, everyone well. Namshich hala. Have a Chag Atzmaut Sameach. And thank you for listening to me. Toda rabah.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for telling us, sharing that with us. I also want to ask Nachum Lemkus, whose daughter Dalia was murdered in Gush Etzion, to give us his thoughts, please. Nachum.
Dalia was killed 5.5 years ago in Gush Etzion, outside the old connection to Alon Shvut, joining up the older gate of Alon Shvut at the what is now a new traffic circle over there. A girl full of chesed chose a job that would head chesed and enjoyed chesed throughout her life. She volunteered for Yad Sarah, which is a chesed organization, and she did chesed on the yeshuv that we lived in at that particular time while I was still married, and we remember her day in and day out. 24/7, 365. Not a day that goes by without us knowing who she was, what she did. And it's a pleasure to extend a Chag Atzmut Sameach to all of you here tonight.
Remembered, but there was a guy, Danny Lasker, who went on Basi, on Kibbutz Shluchot, and his child was killed. Must have been about, what is his name? Shaked. His name was Shaked and he got killed in the Pigua as well. And I met up with him some time ago. He came to visit me.
Richard,
And
Yes.
I don't know
this is Ev Schwartz. Can you see me? So I think you need to mention also Ian Feinberg, who was killed in Gaza. He made Aliyah from Johannesburg. He went to Yeshiva College, and he was the young lawyer of 30, helping Arabs in Gaza in 1993, and he was hacked to death. He was 30 years old, and you can read up about Ian. He was a bit older than me at Yeshiva College. I just remember he was good at karate, and I was once bullied by some guy across the road from the Yeshiva College in the cafe there, and I remember he came with me to protect me, and that's who he was, a protective guy, always showing sensitivity to those who are weaker, and that's what he actually did, to show and help others. And if you look up about Ian Feinberg, a very well-known family, the Feinbergs and Ian, and he was killed by terrorists, and I think he needs to be mentioned too. I was at his funeral at the time. It was a shock, and time goes by. It's 27 years ago, but it's remember him as a
I'm so happy to be here with everybody. I just wanted to mention my brother-in-law, Akiva Pashkus. Even though he wasn't South African, he was Israeli. But my sister Hillary, she was Pashkus. Baruch Hashem, she got remarried. Her husband Akiva, he was Israeli, and he was killed in a pigua in Atarot when he took his Arab poel back to the Machsom. There were terrorists waiting there that had seen him taking his poalim every day back home, and he came the time, and then they opened fire and shot him dead. He was 40 years old.
Yeah, and he was one of the first people killed in the Intifada.
Right, so at the beginning of the Intifada, he was one of the first people. Sad, so we should just remember him also amongst them.
South Africans are connected to everybody.
Absolutely.
I knew him too. Oh my gosh, I knew him too. That's so crazy. When you were talking about terror victims, I thought of him, and I didn't realize there's a connection here. That's crazy.
Kiera Price was newly married to Chovav Landau.
Pira Price, just to tell everybody, Pira Price was one of the first Chanichot from Durban in the mid-1970s. They set up the movement there with I think the Shaliach was Yaakov Chof, and Pira was in that first group of Chanichim, we were the Madrichim. Yeah.
Rafi, Kira was studying in Israel, and she met Chovav Landau. They got married. He was expecting, and it was the beginning of Shlomo Galil, and he was one of also the very first people to fall in the beginning of Shlomo Galil, and so there's the South African kesher there as well.
Thank you.
Actually, Richard,
Steve?
This is Steve. I was the shadchan for Pira and Chovav, Zichron Livracha, and he learned in Kibbutz Yavne when I was there.
Okay, I'm going to now ask Rafi to, on all of our behalf, to say Kelma Lerachamim for all of the people that we've mentioned and those that we might not have mentioned, and Bichlal Kol Ele Shelizkutam Anachnu Po.
מלא רחמים, שוטרים במרומים, המצא מלוכה נכונה, על כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים טהורים וגיבורים, כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים, לנשמות הקדושים שנלחמו בכל מערכות ישראל, במחתרת ובצבא הגנה לישראל, ושנפלו במלחמתם ובפעולות האיבה, ומסרו נפשם על קדושת השם העם והארץ. מבוא שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם, לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו, עולמי, ויצרו בצור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, מגן עדן תהי מלוכתם, וינוחו בשלום המשכבותם, ותעמוד לכל ישראל לזכותם, ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימין, ונאמר
Thank you, Rafi. We're living in this kind of surrealistic world which we've never experienced before, filled with difficulty and sadness and danger and sorrow. And yet, I think hearing stories this evening of how people, overcame difficulties and had such motivation to strive for ideals, I think certainly, I can personally say, creates a certain sense of inspiration and balance. Thanks to every single one of the many tens of people who spontaneously joined us this evening. I wish you all of you, all of your families, good health. And we should get together face to face, look after yourselves, Chag Atzmaut Sameach, and lots of love to everybody from Jerusalem and from...
Great job, thank you very much.
Shkoch. I just want to add something here, if I may. That if people go to telfedhistory.com and then you go to Memoriam, you'll be able to read up on all the Southern Africans that have died in the wars in Israel. Thank you one more time. That's telfedhistory.com, and then go to Memoriam, and you'll be able to read up on any of the soldiers that have passed away. South African soldiers.